Hey Light Culture family, thanks for joining in for another video. Today we're going to be making Papa Kellocks biscuit recipe. So Papa Kellogg is my grandfather, and this recipe brings me straight back to my childhood and warm biscuits that came straight from Nanny and Papa's oven every Sunday night. They made the best biscuits and taught me that with a few simple ingredients, when carefully mixed together, create a soft, pillowy roll of comfort. Starting off here, we have 4 cups of flour that I'm going to sift into our mixing bowl. And depending on where you are in the world, biscuits can take on a very different meaning. So here in North America, they're meant to be flaky and soft, and you can enjoy them for breakfast, a snack, any meal really, even bed lunch. Here we're adding in 1/4 cup of our sugar, 5 teaspoons of baking powder, and also 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This is the most important step. It's super important that your shortening, lard, or butter has been cut into small cubes. You can even take it and shred it on a shredder, but it's really important that these cubes or shredded pieces are really cold. So make sure you keep it in the fridge or even place it in the freezer before you're ready to work with it, because you don't want that butter or shortening to melt as you're mixing it into your flour. Having that butter evenly distributed is what leads to those soft, flaky layers. So we're just going to take a few minutes here and break up that shortening by hand. If you have a pastry cutter, you can also use your pastry cutter as well. So once you feel all of those pieces of shortening or butter mixed together and you start to get a crumbly texture or mixture, then you can start to add in your milk. So that looks about right. So next up we have 2 cups of milk. You're not going to add this all in at the same time, so you're going to gradually add it to the mixture so that your biscuits don't end up too wet. I always try to start off mixing from the inside to the outside to combine all these ingredients together. Slowly adding the milk in ensures that your mixture doesn't get too wet, because once you've added too much milk, it's hard to get that consistency back that you're looking for. People use buttermilk, some people use a regular 1-2% milk. In this case, I'm using our unsweetened almond milk. We still have a little bit of flour on the bottom, so we'll add in this last little bit of milk. Really important when making biscuits is you don't want to overwork them, so you're trying to stir as little as possible just to combine the mixture together. So once you've cleaned up your workspace, we'll add a little bit of flour to the workstation so that the dough doesn't stick. Based on the consistency of the dough, I added a little bit too much milk. The mixture was a little wet. So I added a little bit of flour to work into the dough mixture. So we're just going to knead a little bit by hand. Once it comes together, we'll just shape that dough up so we can start cutting out our circles. can use parchment paper, a little bit of nonstick cooking oil directly on the tray. I, of course, am going to use my baking liners. You can use a biscuit cutter or get fancy and use a glass, as seen here in my video. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do moments where you see me twisting my glass. And when you twist your glass to form the biscuits, it actually can prevent them from rising as well as you want them to. So do not twist when you're forming your biscuits. The total yield of this recipe will depend on the size of the biscuit cutter you're using. With this size, we should end up with about 14 biscuits when we're done. What's that recipe that brings you back to your childhood? Something that your grandparents or parents taught you that stuck with you all these years that you now make for your family? For me, biscuits is one of many. Cataloged in my memory, I also have Sunday morning pancakes, Mom's delicious banana loaf, carrot cake, cream cheese swirl loaf, and pies, although I've yet to master those. So we'll just cut out these last few biscuits. Again, trying not to work that dough too much because we want to get those soft, flaky biscuits that you literally can just pull apart into layers. So while I cut these last few pieces out, I've preset my oven to 350. You can bake at a higher temperature, but I've set it 350 because I'm using my convection oven. So I find that that gives me the right temperature for cooking my biscuits for about 15 or 20 minutes. So remember, the length of time it takes to cook your biscuits is totally going to depend on your oven as well as the size of the biscuits you're making. So make sure you keep an eye on them. So let's load up this last tray. And then we'll move on to that last step before these biscuits hit that oven. So for my final step, I always gently prick the top of the biscuits with a fork. And for the final step, I'm going to brush a little bit of milk over top of the biscuits to get that golden brown color once they're out of the oven. And last one. We'll place these in our preheated oven. So normal oven, 400 Fahrenheit, 15 to 20 minutes. And if you're using your convection oven like I am, then I usually set to 350 for about the same period of time. Once those biscuits come out of the oven, now's the hardest part. What are you going to put on your biscuits? Honey, jam, peanut butter, molasses, butter. Maybe you like them plain. Here's our biscuits after, I think it's about 18 minutes in the oven. So you can see, because I haven't worked my dough extra hard, these biscuits have turned out to be perfectly imperfect. So a beautiful golden brown color. These biscuits are quite large in size. Thought I'd end up with 14, but we have 13 in total. And now for the best part, the taste test. So I'm torn when it comes to my favorite topping for a biscuit. Definitely some melted butter on this piping hot biscuit. If you look close enough, you can see the steam still coming from it. You can see the layers built into that biscuit. So one-handedly, I'm going to try to add a little bit of butter. It's difficult with the camera in one hand. And instead of molasses today, I think I'm actually going to add a little bit of our honey. I sincerely hope that everybody's enjoyed following along to the video today and making my Papa's biscuits with me. Please make sure that you like the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and share this video with your family and friends. The final thing for us to do here is to try our finished product. Bon appetit.